the United States of America was the greatest country before Trump, and it's the greatest country now after Trump. The white supremacists want to go back to the days when it was legal to own slaves.
You are about to be entertained by the ape, the young man who has become a legend in his own time. You must answer. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Courtesy of Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise in the movie A Few Good Men. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's the Ron Kelly Show featuring my good friend Patricia Wilder, and it's on Facebook. It's Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm so excited to have Patricia on the program. I can't even talk. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and X, formerly known as Twitter. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Welcome, Miss Patricia Wilder. Good to see you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ron Kelly. It is nice to be back on with you.
Yes.
This forum once again.
Yes, the last time, it might have been probably more than 20 years ago, was the last time we were on. We were at WPSC 88.7 FM, Wayne, New Jersey. William Patterson, they call it university now. It was William Patterson College back in the days, but they're a little snootier now. So they're William Patterson. They are now William Patterson University. So welcome, Patricia. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. It's the Ron Kelly Show on Facebook. You could also go on LinkedIn, YouTube, the Ron Kelly Show channel. Please go on there and give a hoot. Don't somebody's emailing me. Yes, you can go on to the YouTube channel and subscribe. Please do, or you can listen through YouTube. You want to get that listener base up, and of course, Twitter, formerly known as X. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. I went today to get my screening, Patricia. And this is Black History Month once again. They squeeze 28 days, the shortest month of the year. We get to
celebrate our greatness, our brilliance.
Absolutely.
29 days. This 2024. It's 29 days.
It's 29. This is leap year.
Yes.
Whatever that means. Imagine that. No, you got one birthday every 4 years, but you still get 4 years older. So I don't. I don't get that. I mean, if I'm going to wait 4 years for a birthday, then I should look like I did the last birthday, or a year older instead of 4 years old. But anyway, we're going to talk about that. It's Black History Month. Patricia, and I've always had like a kind of not necessarily a resentment, but I guess you could call it a resentment about Black History Month, that we only celebrate, the powers that be have given us an opportunity to celebrate only for 28 days, 29 days, whatever. Like Black folks only did things during the month of February, and for the rest of the year, we just kind of just sat around and didn't do anything. So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, I have a problem with that.
So important for us to celebrate. I think it's so important for us to hold up the torch to continue to celebrate, our greatness, our brilliance. We are a part of the shakers and the makers, creatively, spiritually, So in my opinion, although this month has been targeted to say it's Black History Month, it is important for us to always be talking about our Black history and the greatness that lies on the inside of all of us.
Absolutely. Shout out to Ronald McCready, a longtime friend of the Ron Kelly Show featuring Patricia Wilder. And so shout out to you, Ronald McCready. Thank you so much for joining us. I need about 1 million more like you, and we'll be on our and we'll 1 million more people like you and Joanne Jackson and some of the other folks who partake of the Ron Kelly Show on a weekly basis, along with Lamont Gates and some of the other folks who are avid listeners.
Nice.
Yeah, so I went today, Patricia, and I put a video on Facebook. Any of you can go. It's the Ron Kelly Show on I'm sorry, Twitter, the Ron Kelly Show on Twitter, and you could go on Twitter and you could see some of my craziness and just some of the good stuff that I do say. So I went today to get a screening, for a screening for blocked arteries and aortic aneurysm and these kind of things, carotid artery in the neck. Some of those things, some of those sleeping enemies that if you, because like what the doctor says, he says with the stroke, you don't know. There's no advance warning about a stroke until you actually have it, until you're in the throes of the stroke, and by then it's too late. And statistically speaking, Patricia, the numbers are not good for us as far as preventing.
So African American men, you're saying?
African American, yes, African American men, and I can't say it's anybody's fault other than our own that we don't go to the doctor when there's nothing wrong. Like preventative medicine, what I did today. Shout out to, just for a second, shout out to Ronald McCready who says, we got the short stick. Can you see that, Patricia?
Yes.
Yeah, Ronald McCready says, we got the short stick. We continue to rise above a 28-day celebration. Our greatness shows every day. Here, brother.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely appreciate that. And so the word is that we don't go to the doctor when we don't need to go to the doctor. When we're not
so
in
the time you get to the doctor, you're saying that whatever is happening has progressed.
Yeah, it's already happened, right?
Yeah, well, it is important that we're taking care of ourselves and that we are making those annual appointments, if not a few times throughout the year, understanding that prevention is better than cure, and knowing is better than not knowing, so that shift in the mindset. And I think it's also back to cultivating self-care, and self-love. And so at the end of the day, you have to be able to say, what am I doing to ensure that I'm trying to produce, good health and longevity, so it matters, me checking in and having a relationship with my physician and not waiting until
something happens.
Yes,
right.
As you're talking about, like the test that you went and took today, and so being able to see, the results, that's important. That's important. So why is it that you think that men don't necessarily, obviously, how long have you had that practice?
I've been doing it for years. As a matter of fact, I've been doing it so much that they sent me a gift card. Now I can't go to the mall with this card, but I can go back to the business and say, well, yeah, and use it, which I did today. I used it for my next checkup. Matter of fact, it's enough money where I can use it for the next 2 checkups.
Nice.
I go so often, and I think that ego and image and not wanting to look soft has a lot to do with why our brothers don't go and somebody said suffer in silence, where there's something seriously wrong, and we don't talk about it because we want to be like everybody else, and we just kind of just go with the flow and pretend like everything is all right when it's not.
Well, I think that suffering in silence piece, is important. And I think that has to do too with the way we raise, our boys, that eventually become men. I remind, my daughters, I have 2 adult daughters, and I remind them all the time that you are raising somebody's husband, that you're raising somebody's father, so it is important, that we help our boys that become young men, that become wise men, to ensure, those implementing those practices to make sure that you're taking care of yourself is really important. I think also, even as we're talking about suffering in silence, we were having a dialogue, earlier about, suicide, mental health, you know, when you go through trauma, and nobody escapes from going through difficulties and hard times, but how do you process that? And I think a lot of times for our men, they simply bear, whatever's going on and just do the next thing, versus talking with someone about their mental health, their mental their well-being. Like, what do you do for your spiritual maintenance? Do you have a safe place? Is there a men's community where men can talk amongst men? In fact, some of my friends just started a men's group, in fact, and it's a safe place for men. So maybe I can give a plug to them and their information.
Sure,
absolutely. But it's important. For instance, just a few weeks ago, right? We had the sheriff who, unfortunately committed suicide.
Yes, yeah, and I knew, because you hear about suicide all the time, and if I don't know the person, I mean, I feel bad for them. But when I heard about Sheriff Birdner, because he's a friend of the show, he has been on the show early on when he first took over the sheriffship or whatever you call it, and so I was like, wow, what makes a person want to check out? It's just unbelievable. Right. I mean, it happens. We see it happen all the time. And it's a mental health. I mean, and it's another example of being in trouble and not reaching out for help. It's another example.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see my good friend, Sister Clancy, has joined. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being on with us tonight. But yes, preventive measures, when we're in crisis, when we're in trauma, when we're going through, difficulty, like, do you know you're in trouble? Do you know you're falling while you're falling, or do you not know it until you hit the ground? Like, when do you, how, it's so important, Ron, for us to be able to talk about how I'm feeling and how I'm doing and what's going on. And I think sometimes where environments are not created where we can talk about what's happening, people find other means, to medicate, whatever that is going on the inside of us. So you taking a step today, and obviously, like, you went to the doctor today, you got your test results, so you're taking preventive measures and knowing versus not knowing, whatever you can do so that you can be proactive. And I think that we have to take that same thing when it comes to mental health. Like, why is counseling or therapy? How do you view that? Do you view that, is that another healthy tool in your toolbox? Because a lot of people, when it comes to counseling and therapy, particularly, I want to say in the Black community, people think, it's not smiled upon, it's looked at in a negative way. How do you feel about therapy and counseling? I think people come from childhood into adulthood, and you have experienced different traumas. And if you are not talking about the impact of whatever has gone on in your world, that it certainly comes out, sometimes with us practicing self-defeating behaviors.
Absolutely. I think, well, Ronald McCready, incidentally, Ronald McCready says suffering in silence is going to kill you. Men think they don't need to see a doctor because they are not trained to go get checks. Now, Patricia, I think that part of it is cultural. I think part of that is cultural, like not speaking out or not speaking up when you're either mentally or physically. I think that it's part of it is cultural, that you don't want to be looked upon as being weak. You know, I know in the police department, they don't, you know, when they're in trouble, they don't necessarily go to the force. I mean, they don't go to the resources, because other cops are not going to want to work with them, you know, because they feel like they're, you know, they've lost a little bit of it, and they're not going to be on point, and they don't want to work with them. So with the police, that's what stops them from seeking help. Because once you seek help, nobody's going to want to work with you. Nobody's going to want to partner with you, because you're affected. You know, you're not. The other cops will think like, I might be out there with you, and I might wind up getting killed because you don't do the right thing. And you're not on point. So that's a little part of it with the police department. Alfreda Clancy says, I've done family therapy several times over the years. When we step out of denial, then we can deal with self-help and get help. Absolutely, 100%, I believe with that. 100.
Absolutely. Because you can't correct what you won't first confront. And so if you don't view something as an issue, then it can't be an issue. You know, there has to be an admission in that. You know, my dad used to say, he was a very wise man who has transitioned, but you know, he gave me so many good nuggets. And he would say, you know, like, there's nothing wrong with, you know, falling, you know, but, you know, the thing is getting up, you know. So really understanding that, how can I correct what I won't confront? If I'm not able to say it's a problem, and I think particularly, and I was having this conversation earlier with someone, with our police officers, you know, who has a job where they have to be on edge, that they have to be, you know, that's, you know, their job. And I think mental health for certain professions, you know, should be mandated. I think police officers should be one. Like, I have a disagreement with you and I'm just going into my office to sit at my desk. You know, but to the police officer who has maybe a disagreement at home, you know, and they're going out for the next, you know, 8 hours into the community. So I think they almost should be mandated to have mental health evals, you know, every so often.
Yeah, but the police departments control the towns. The PBA is very powerful, even in the smallest town. So they control everything, and if they don't want something, it's not going to happen. Thank you, Lamont Gates. Lamont Gates, who says, thank you for this very important topic. Ron and Patricia, I'll just throw that in there. A lot of the lack of mental health treatment is not only cultural, but generational as well. I'm in agreement with that. Many of our parents and grandparents suffered in silence as well, and passed that down to other generations. You know, and Patricia, and I agree with you. Thank you, Lamont Gates, for your comment. And, you know, the black, you know, we're focusing on the black community. But black people are the least suicidal folks out of all the ethnic groups. I believe that black folks are the least suicidal. The black folks are the least, like, school shooting, mass murderers, all this type of stuff. Black folks are the least likely
to commit those type of crimes.
So, you know, and I think that we've been through so much, Patricia, as a community, as a black community. We've been through so much, not just recently in our lifetimes, but hundreds of years back. We have gone through so much. So I guess we're kind of conditioned in a way to just go through what we got to go through and just move on as far as us as an ethnic group is concerned.
Well, I think that when you look at the plight of Black folks, African Americans, and when you look at some of the atrocities that we have had to suffer as a people, you know, that you, whether you were being hung, raped, beaten, you know, you still had your kids sold, you know, you still was made to go out into the field and still work and still, you know. So I think, you know, folks have learned to numb, you know, to numb their feelings, you know, and so really, you know, coming to this mindset of making sure that you're checking in on you and making sure that you're practicing self-care, you know, and it doesn't make you less of a man. In fact, it makes you a wise man to say, hey, this is happening, and this is going on, versus, people turn to gambling, people turn to drinking, people turn to working. Like, I'm working, but I'm not home with my family, So I think it's kind of really important to address, just our experience,
Absolutely. Okay, you know what we'll do? We'll take a break and we'll come back, everybody. We'll take a quick break and we'll come back with more of this program. It's the Ron Kelly Show featuring Patricia Wilder this evening, and we're on blogtalkradio.com, the RonKellyShow.com, along with Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and X, destroyed by Elon Musk, formerly known as Twitter. Back in a second with more. It's the Ron Kelly Talk Radio program. Yes, indeed, I am the man. What a news cycle this is. This guy has got to go. Trump has got to go. George Floyd snuffed out by this police officer who's supposed to be serving and protecting people.
It's the Ron Kelly Show.
All right. Shout out to my friends at Amaker Porterfield Transportation. Amaker Porterfield Transportation has been providing safe, reliable transportation to the folks in the New York metropolitan area for 40 years, almost as long as I've been alive. Anyway, excellent, safe, reliable transportation to folks in the New York metropolitan area. So they're located at 307 Arlington Avenue in Plainfield, New Jersey. So we'll talk more about them in a little bit. But thank you so much to the Amaker Porterfield Transportation Corporation for sponsoring the Ron Kelly Show. I also need to let you guys know that the views and opinions expressed here are exclusively those of myself and R. Kelly Media Enterprises, LLC, and are not those of my advertisers or my support team or Miss Patricia Wilder. Okay, we are back. It's about 23 minutes past the hour. You know, somebody asked me, Patricia, do I ever have someone who I dated? I was asked, would I have somebody who I dated or somebody dated, slept with, whatever, on the program? And I said, hell no, not as a co-host, no. And I've never done that because it's too dangerous. It's too dangerous. Somebody cops an attitude and the show is over.
You think they have a big TV show? Who's that? Kelly and her husband.
Well, yeah, they do. But some people are, you know, the show is, I mean, they got a lot to lose. You know, they both have a lot to lose. If somebody cops an attitude, they have a lot to lose. And you're right, Kelly and her husband.
But I think, too, you're seeing more people that are bringing their family in. Like you have, what's the gentleman name? He has his mom on with him all the time.
Anthony Anderson.
And yes, you have Jamie Foxx that has his daughter. So I think you're starting to see more of, you know, people bringing folks in that's close to them.
Yeah, Lamont Gates says, Will and Jada, red table. That's a bad example, Lamont. That's a bad example. They were sitting at that table telling each other, you know, their business. You know, she's talking about this. What did she call it? She called it a situation, something. What was it? Because everybody's saying the phrase now. She had it'll come to me.
Yeah, I really didn't watch that show that often, so I'm really not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's too late to try to
But
divorce
you
it.
said no. You said I am not having someone that I'm dating or have dated to co-host the show. You say that's a no for
Yeah.
you?
Well, you know what? I guess it depends, Patricia, on the professionalism and the mindset of the person that and whether you can trust them. That's like, thank you, Lamont Gates. Entanglement. I think that's the word. I think that's the word. I think that's the word she mentioned. Entanglement. I mean,
It is the word I believe she used.
yeah, no, I mean, it depends. It depends on the growth and the maturity of the person that you are bringing on. Um, and what's her name, and her husband, they are professional people, so better not to let, like, if somebody says, hey Mark, you're cute or whatever, and she knows not to say, bitch, say, who are you talking to? She knows better than not to say that. So it depends on the maturity and the growth of the individual. Anyway, everybody, it's the Ron Kelly Show, featuring this evening my good friend Patricia Wilder. We're on blogtalkradio.com, the RonKellyShow.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and X. And if you are watching the Ron Kelly Show, even if on Facebook, go on over to X. I mean, not X, but the Ron Kelly Show on YouTube channel, and click that subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. You can just click and subscribe to the program. So it's Black History Month, everybody, and we're talking about, Patricia and I were talking about some of the well, I don't want to say pitfalls, but some of the things that we as people are not addressing, because we talked a little bit about healthcare and see that now the men, I think the women are more attentive to healthcare than the men. Black women are more attentive to healthcare for the most part than Black men. But Patricia, I want to move into like the issues with what I have versus what I don't have, and us living through our things. I got to have the nicest car. I got to have the red bottom shoes. I got to have the Fooey Louie or whatever, the Fooey Louie, most of them are Fooey Louie bag. And those things that make us feel better about ourselves. So do you think that we have like a self-esteem issue, or, I'm better than you issue? What do you think it is?
Well, I mean, I think it's nice to have things, right? Because, who doesn't want, but not for things to have you, and I don't know why I keep referring back to my father in this, but, he used to tell me that if you think you are who you are based upon what you have, then at any time, those things are subject to be removed without your permission, So I think, people are always saying, see me, and keeping up with the Mr. or Mrs. Jones, So yes, I want the house, I want the car. I was just having a conversation the other day. I'm like, well, do you want to be rich or do you want to look rich? Right. It is quite a difference. I think that when it comes to esteem, and positive self-image, that is something that we always, have to be working on. So, whether I'm driving my car to say I need to have this type of brand for you to recognize, or I have to have on these type of clothes, learning, to be, you could be okay inside of your own skin, and still be fly too, but, do we suffer with self-esteem issues? Yeah, I think people do.
Yeah, and it's prevalent in the Black community. I mean, the white folks go through it too, but it's definitely prevalent in the Black community. Because I have a Range Rover, right? And some days I look at it and I'm like, what was I thinking of? I mean, it's not that I don't want to trade it in or whatever, but sometimes I just think like I didn't need this. I could have bought just
a Nissan,
maybe a Nissan, or Ford Edge or something else with 4-wheel drive. Why did I buy a Range Rover? And part of and even myself, even me personally, have fallen victim to and I am cool with, I can say it. I've fallen victim to the haves and the have-nots, and I got a Range Rover versus you got a Tahoe or whatever. Because I used to have a Tahoe before I got this one. And sometimes, because I ask myself, if I just bought what I needed, where would I be? If I just bought an old car, something decent, with low mileage or whatever, and it was reliable to get me from point A to point B, because that's basically the only route you need a car for, is getting from point A to point B. And I think about now, why if I wouldn't buy I got so many pairs of Nikes, it's ridiculous.
You can only wear one pair at a time, right?
Maybe I got issues, but but yeah, and I'm thinking like, why? Where would I be if I had only bought what I needed versus? And I don't know if I bought it. I'm not even sure what the reason was. If it was self-esteem, if it was one-upping somebody else. I'm not even sure why. But sometimes
if you just seen it, particularly, certain, commercials, certain ads, are, we're bombarded with seeing that, and so you feel like you have to, have that. And I think too, sometimes, like, I can look at items that I have in my house, that may still, clothing, for instance, that may still even have a price tag on, but I may have been going through feelings, and ended up, at the mall and picking up things that I don't need, simply because
feel-good purchase. Yeah.
Yes.
Feel-good purchase.
Yes, feel-good purchase. That is a very good point. What does some of our listening audience, what do you think about that? Let's hear some of your comments.
Yeah, if you go on, you can go in the comments on Facebook, or any of the other places where the Ron Kelly Show is airing on YouTube and X, I believe. I'm not sure about LinkedIn, but I do know that you can go on at least Facebook and YouTube, and you can make a comment about what we're talking about. And I'll admit it, like waiting for that box to come, coming home from work, and if the box is there, you're all happy. But I tell you, 5 minutes after I open that box, I'm like, I didn't need this shit.
Yeah, after the euphoria wears off.
Yeah,
right?
The euphoria wears. I got a panini machine in the kitchen and I never used it. I'm like, what the hell do I need a panini machine for? Because I used to be deep into QVC and I had stuff coming.
You spend a lot of money on QVC.
I spent so much money on QVC.
You should have stock in that.
Yeah,
what do you think about that? Investing, are we more consumer driven, or are we learning to be, money smart?
Well, Black folks especially fall victim to the Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Givenchy, and all of this stuff, and these highfalutin brands, and we fall victim to that, and a lot of it, and I believe that much of it is like self-worth, and because how the hell can a car make you feel better about yourself, or a pair of shoes, like look at my shoes. And and we do have a problem in the Black community with self-esteem and self-worth. And the more I have, the better I feel about myself. And the less I have, then the less I feel about myself. So
how do we begin to rectify? How do we begin to change that dialogue? What are some of the things that we can begin to implement to help us feel better? There used to be this saying, and it would say, Gucci on the outside and Kmart's on the inside.
Right.
Yeah.
Kmart's not even around anymore, so
right.
Go figure that.
So, or Walmart, how do we begin to become, like, hey, you can be both. You can have it going on externally and internally.
Yeah, because it's an issue in our community. It's an issue in the Black community. We're doing this program in honor of Black History Month. We will say some good things now. Just hold on. We still got another 24 minutes left. But I think we fall victim to that because I talked a little bit last week about how Black businesses, everybody says support Black businesses, but there's not many Black businesses around to support outside of getting your hair done or getting your hair done or getting a haircut or getting a doobie or whatever they call it. And, during my work day, I drive around and I see a lot of places that, Black businesses, I know they were Black businesses, A, by the signage, and B, what they were offering. And, we create these businesses, but we don't do the homework needed, because if you're going to start a business with something that somebody is going to need every day, a supermarket, some restaurant, something that people are going to need every day. Because if you start a business, and a lot of the businesses, shout out to my people, but a lot of the businesses are not things that people need on a regular basis. And the businesses go out of business because of that. Ronald McCready says, the designer syndrome, right? The red bottom shoes. Now nobody can even see the bottom of your shoe. So why is the color of the bottom of your shoe so important when nobody can even see the bottom of your shoe?
Because those are things that say I'm important.
Right.
Those are things that say I got it going on, externally. But I think that, you were talking about businesses, Black owned businesses, and the decline, in some ways there's a decline when you look out into your community. Do you see Black businesses? I don't necessarily think that, because I think that, if you can satisfy a need, you can always produce wealth for yourself. So, it requires another mindset, shift, that we should be meeting and talking about, strategizing in businesses and not just being, so consumer driven. And do you think that goes back? Is that a part of self-esteem? That there is not more businesses, that Black people are providing those services. There's quite a difference. I was saying to someone that when you look at, Black Wall Street, right? And, you had all of these flourishing businesses. I do think, Black people have certainly progressed. But I don't know if you see, you don't see, as many businesses in the community. Is that because of the red tape? Is that because it's challenging? If that's because, you are being raised, to just work hard, why is that?
Yeah, Ron McCready says, and I can afford red bottoms. And they even got red bottoms for men now. I'm like, give me a break. But and it's the bottom of your shoe. So nobody can even see the bottom of your shoe unless you kick your heels up, put your foot on the table or whatever, so everybody can see your red bottom shoe. And you look at the pictures of Black folks like in the 40s and 50s, how the men dressed, how the women dressed. When men wore suits, In the black community, the men wore suits, men wore suits and shoes. The women wore dresses below the knee, most of them. I mean, there was probably a few stragglers, but for the most part, the women were dressed properly. There was no cleavage showing, and the dresses were below the knee. So I think that as time progressed, time went up. I think the quality or the way black folks thought of themselves went down, because now you got the twerking and the Daisy Dukes and all kinds of stuff going on. And the men, unless they're older, don't dress the way they should, as we did back in the 40s and 50s. So I don't know if it's because time has progressed and people just kind of, or it's a cultural type of thing. Because we can take this all the way back to like the Willie Lynch, and I've read the Willie Lynch syndrome. I've read that book, and we'll get into that in a second. We'll be back, everybody, in just a minute with more of this program. It's Ron Kelly Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and X, formerly known as Twitter, destroyed by Elon Musk. Back in a minute with more. It's the Ron Kelly Show. That sounds like the Big Valley or one of those old westerns. The music sounds like Daniel Boone or one of those old shows. The music, anyway. You'll see me on the billboards very soon. Thank you much, everybody, for joining us.
It's very nice that projection.
Yeah, I have some people who some tech folks who know how to do that kind of stuff, because and I went to school for radio and television, but that was one of the, I'm just lazy. I guess I'd rather just pay somebody here to do this for me. How did that happen? Anyway, welcome back, everybody. It's the Ron Kelly Show, and it's on blogtalkradio.com, theronkelly.show.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and X. And shout out to my brother Omar Brown, who I've known for years, who is checking out the program. Shouts to you, my brother. Hope to see you again soon. Omar says the mentality changed due to how the kids were raised. Patricia.
Mentality change due to kids raising kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because you see, I used to do the security at I'm not going to say where I was at. I don't want to knock the people who run the joint, but you see the mamas and the daughters in there, both dropping it like it's hot, twerking, cleavage all over the place, dress up to the booty. And the mothers and the daughters and sometimes even the grandmamas.
Well, I feel that if our young people are in whatever state that they're in, and there's always room for improvement and growth and development, I sometimes feel as a people that we have dropped the ball, our generation. has dropped the ball if you have young people that are conducting themselves in a manner, where were we?
Yeah, but these kids, I mean, you come to think, shout out to you, my brother, Omar Brown, checking in the Ron Kelly Show featuring Patricia Wilder. These kids now.
Oh, hip hop changed the dress code. I think yes.
Yeah, hip hop changed the dress code. Ronald McCready, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't dress like a hip hopper, but I know I can admit I don't dress the way I should dress. I admit that.
Well, fads come and people begin to run with the fad, like tattoos, that people are just tattooed everywhere.
Yeah, I have 4 of them. Guilty as stars. I got 4 of them. Big ones too, not no small ones. Painful. And I'm like, why am I going through all this pain just to put a sign on my back or whatever, or on my front, whatever the case may be? But I think that we as a people are just very gullible, and I know people. I'm going to get pushback, and people are going to be like kicking my back in off, in the comments or whatever. But I think we're not producers, Patricia. We're not. Black folks don't produce anything. We are consumers. We buy everything. We don't make cars. We don't make, outside of FUBU maybe. And there might be a few scattered designers here and there. We don't make clothes on a major market level. We don't own a lot of real estate. We don't own big apartment buildings and hotels. And so we're consumers for the most part. Black folks are consumers. We don't produce anything. If you want to go to a place like maybe Fisher Investments, one of those little places, you got to go in the white neighborhood to get to that. They don't put them in the black neighborhood. Fidelity and Fisher and TD Bank investments and all these little places they have where you can go in and talk about investment. They don't have that in the black community. They just said with no sense in putting it there because they're not invested in nothing.
Well, I will say this, Black folks spend billions of dollars every year.
Spend billions of dollars.
Supporting, buying.
Supporting white businesses, supporting Nike, supporting Timberland, supporting North Face, supporting all of these companies that are owned by white folks, and we are spending all our money trying to look. And I'm going to try to get that man on the show. I'm at a loss right now, but he says he'd rather have a plastic bag with $5,000 in it than to have a Gucci bag with $100 in it. And man, just knocked me out of my chair when I heard him say that, because we'd rather have an empty Fooey Louie. And the part about it, Patricia, is nobody knows if the bag is real or not.
Well, I think Sister Clancy makes a really great point. We have invented enough, and it was not credited to us. Education is the key. You do better when you know better. And
agreed.
Having that dialogue, again, meeting and strategizing, and talking to our young people. I was just even thinking today, I need to call like a matriarch meeting. I need to call a meeting, and perhaps do it, every so often, so that we're talking about like, what are you doing? So that we're talking about, creating legacy and financial security. Like, this is America, right? People believe that if they can get here, that they can do this, that, or the other. And so I think that we have to, have rooms where we're talking about, discussion and developing businesses, for our so that we're passing that torch on.
Yeah, absolutely. And and I don't say that to say that the whole Black community is, because there are some Black folks who are doing the right things. There are Black men who are mentoring our youth, the ones who want to be mentored. There are Black men who are mentoring our youth. So there is some stuff going on, some good things in the Black community that's taking place. We do have but I love Dr. Oh God, I can't think of his name. I would love to have him on the show too, as well, because he talks about he's somebody who's kind of ostracized.
Dr. Umar?
Dr. Umar Johnson. Yeah, old boy is knocking it down. And he's ostracized because he tells the truth about the church, about Black families. He tells the truth, and nobody wants to hear what he's saying because it's the truth. Omar Brown says hip hop being 50 years old, there are a lot of damn near seniors still walking around with their pants sagging. So true indeed. True indeed. Because some people just don't want to accept that they're getting older, And I myself fell victim to that. I was one of them. Alfreda Clancy says, our communities have been lied to and we have not been on the same playing field. Okay, Alfreda, if we know we've been lied to, why are we still falling for the banana in the tailpipe? If we know we've been lied to at 9.5 minutes before the hour, why do we still fall for it?
The challenge again is it starts with getting our minds out of slavery, that slavery mentality. We need healing, not to be put down. So to be encouraging and uplifting young folks to tap into, right? Their brilliance, their greatness, their genius that's living on the inside of us, really turning that light on. Like I, said earlier in our dialogue that, if you can satisfy a need, you can always generate revenue, right? And so really having those dialogues. But a lot of times we look for our kids to do what? We look for them to go to school, and to get a job.
Right.
That's the other side of that, versus like, you don't have to wait, to start your own charity. Like I talk to young people all the time about, because folks think that they have to wait. I have to wait, that I have to get this much, before I could start. If you can go and purchase a car, and find a loan for that, you can also find, go into a bank and look, you can go to the small business administrator, and help to prepare. So I think really we do have to teach it. We do have to shout it. We do have to encourage it. I know Clancy is an educator. And so one of the things that she's doing with young people all the time, is talking to them about the possibilities, of them becoming.
Yeah, but we need to allow our people. You see, we have to. I can say it. I'm against giving away turkeys at Thanksgiving. I'm against that.
Why?
I'm against that because you teach a person how to fish. Don't give them a fish. Teach them how to fish. Because
I'm with that mindset.
Feed a person for a day. They'll eat for that day. But feed a person. You know how the saying goes. And I'm against that. We have a lot. Our basketball players are making hundreds of millions. Our football players are making hundreds of millions of dollars, the kind of money that we may never see, And why can't our football players start a bank? Why can't, instead of giving away stuff and, and giving away turkeys and giving away food and stuff like that, why can't our Black football players start a bank? Start a bank. I mean, collectively, let's get together. We got plenty of money to get the lawyers, and we can start a bank. And so for the Black folks whose business plans are right and they're good, then we can loan them money to start their business. We can get people, loan officers and whatnot. We can start our own bank, and we can loan money to Black folks who have a good business plan and who know what the hell they're doing so they can start their own business. Because we know that the white banks will scrutinize us to the point where we just walk away, because that's what they do. They're good at that. So we need our black wealthy people, the Beyoncés, the Jay-Z's, the Riri's, Rihanna, people who are billionaires, big with a B, not a millionaire, billionaire, who we can get to. There's plenty of black folks in the community who are very wealthy people who can put together money. I bet you they can put together $1 billion and start a fund or some kind of bank, something legal where they can loan money to people who want to start businesses. Why can't we, because it's like, I got mine, now you got to get yours type of syndrome.
But again, it goes back to the mindset. And so, if you see that, it may take a Ron Kelly, it may take an Alfreda Clancy, it may take an Omar Brown or Patricia Wilder, to come together, and collaborate and have, some of the, because I think people are just waiting for good ideas, like people want to give, so I think, even if you don't know, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step.
Absolutely. But where did the people who started the Black Wall Street in Oklahoma, yada, yada, where did they get their money from? There wasn't no banks giving no black folks no money back then. You couldn't get nothing.
Right. They came
where did they get
their,
right. So where did there you go. There you go. Collectively, we can do anything. We've survived we've survived living in America all these years. We have survived. We have prospered in a lot of ways.
We've survived racism.
Right. So
every other type of ism.
Right. So the collective, if we can just come together, that's the one thing that's killing the black community is the lack of cohesiveness. There is there's hardly any feel of community in the black community. We're not together, and it's just boggles my mind how we just, everybody's an individual. There's no there's no collectiveness. So that's not a word, but there's no community. And this is the problem. And this is why you hit the nail on the head, Patricia.
Well, everything
needs to come together.
Is, that collaboration, that understanding that two is greater than one, that I don't have to know it all, but I'm going to take your greatness and your greatness and your greatness and your greatness, and we're going to come together. And so I think one of the things that you see during the Black Wall Street era is that people were absolutely determined to create, to create for themselves. That they were not, we were very clear with how other folks thought and felt. And it was important, for us to create and collaborate and produce whatever we needed within our community.
Right. And Black Wall Street would have never been Black Wall Street if people hadn't come together. Omar Brown says, there are those that reach back, the turkeys and stuff like that. However, there's not a collective. That's where we fall short. So what you were saying is correct. Absolutely, because they got to start like the movie theater in Newark, for example. Shaq or somebody put it there. It's closed. You know what I'm saying? It's not even. So instead of building businesses in the black community, why not loan the folks who are there already, the folks who have to deal with the place every day? Why not help those folks get the money that they need to start their own business? Don't you put a business there, because don't you put a business there. Allow someone else, the people who are there already, who have a good game plan, who have a good financial plan, give them the money and let them start the business. Because these guys own hundreds of Wendy's and and what the Papa John's and they own. Why not? Let's give some of those businesses to folks who have the who have the wherewithal to purchase the business, purchase this on time, whatever. Let's stop giving out turkeys. I'm tired of this turkey nonsense. Help people to be able to support themselves. Stop with this turkey stuff. All right, everybody. Patricia Wilder. Oh, it's a half minute past the hour, and so Patricia Wilder, thank you so much for coming on to the program. Appreciate you, and hopefully you'll be back. And I'm telling you, you're helping me get myself together because I'm kind of like sliding. See, I got my background.
I see. Very good.
Yeah, I didn't have it, and we need to. We'll talk about it offline. But you are helping me get it together.
Again, it's the collective work.
Right.
Together.
Right. I have to be willing to listen. Because a lot of us don't listen to each other and, talk to the hand and all of this stuff and everything goes sideways. So thank you, Patricia.
Thank you for having me. And I want to thank everyone for coming and thank you for your comments. And the Ron Kelly Show is here every Thursday at 7 p.m. And you can tune in from various different places. Ron, what are some of those places once again?
Well, Facebook, which you're already on. You can go to LinkedIn. You can go to YouTube, the Ron Kelly Show YouTube channel. Take a minute, please, to go over there. Hit me up with a subscribe. Doesn't cost anything. And because we need all the support we can get. And X, formerly known as Twitter, and I like to say destroyed by Elon Musk because he has too much money. See, Elon Musk can solve all our problems. But,
and I think too, the other thing too, Ron, that we want to say to our audience that if you have, any thoughts that you would like for us to discuss or talk about, you can certainly send an email to rkellytalk@aol.com. Again, that's rkellytalk@aol.com. So if you would like to hear certain discussions, certain dialogues, we want you, again, it's the collective work of us coming together.
Right. R. Kelly. So not that R. Kelly. I'm the good one. R. Kelly Talk. Kicking the brothers back in. rkellytalk@aol.com. Thank you, Omar Brown. And thank you all for joining us this evening. And we hope to bring more compelling issues because there's a lot of things that are going on in the Black community. There's a lot of things that we need to talk about. So I want to thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Patricia. I know it's been a long day and I'm ready to go somewhere and sit down. So thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Thank you, Patricia. We'll see you back here next Thursday night at 7 p.m. for another edition of the Ron Kelly Show. So until then, I like to say that it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. And that we may not have it all together. But together, collectively, we can have it all. Thank you so much. And I think I am done. Thank you, Patricia.
Yeah, you forgot to give that number out though, Ron.
What number?
Mental health. The
988. Yeah, thank you, Patricia. See, you're helping me already. 988, if you feel you're having some strange thoughts or whatever, certain medications also give you suicidal thoughts, and they tell you that they give you suicidal thoughts. So if you have any strange, if you're feeling down,
if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're struggling, there is help available. And so that is a confidential line that you can call. And there are people that are there 24 hours a day. And if it's not you, perhaps you know someone that may. And so we want to make sure that we put as many many tools in our toolbox to help. So 988 is a number anyone can call if you find yourself in mental crisis.
Absolutely, Patricia, absolutely. It's no shame. Like if I'm seeing somebody, I can tell you I'm seeing a therapist. I have seen a therapist before, so it's no shame in my game because I want to live. Because you don't think anybody can succumb to those thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Anybody can succumb to those thoughts.
Right. And you can make a permanent decision based upon a temporary feeling.
Right.
And so talking is very important.
Right. So 988. You don't even have to have the whole 9 digits. Just 10 digits rather. It's 988. Call that number if you're feeling strange or weird. If you're on a medication that creates those type of thoughts. Definitely 988. It's a confidential, toll free. Nobody will know about it. If you're worried about your image, nobody will know that you called. So 988, please, I beg of you, do not cause harm to yourself. Call 988 and let these people try to give you some help before you.
Self-care, self-love, and together we can.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you for that. 988, everybody. If you're feeling like you need some help, 988. Don't be ashamed. Who cares what people think? Because I sure don't. All right, everybody. We're out of here. Thank you, Patricia. We'll see you guys back here next week, 7 p.m. for another edition of the Ron Kelly Show. Until then, keep the faith.
Keep the faith.
Yes.
Let's
keep the faith. Okay.